Who should the Pacers want to play in the Eastern Conference Finals between the Knicks and Celtics? Jon Washburn and I dive into that, talk about rust, a good chance at the finals, and offer praise for one unheralded Pacers playoff performer, all today on the Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What up, y'all? Happy Friday. Congrats. You made it through the week, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes, and today, Jon Washburn is going to join us to talk about a few key topics for the Pacers. They transition from one round to the next one. The Celtics or the Knicks, who should the Pacers want to play? That is a tough question to get to the bottom of. Two, they have 8 days off between game 5 of the Cleveland series and game 1 of the conference finals. Rest, good. Rust, bad. How will that shake out for the Pacers? Jon has stats to back it up. 3, where does this conference finals path rank on the Pacers' best chances to make the finals ever? And 4, I gave Jon an assignment to offer praise to one unheralded Pacers playoff performer, and we had different answers. Great conversation. Let's just get right to it. Somehow still 5 days until the Eastern Conference Finals, and the Pacers still don't know who they're playing. A lot of fun conversations to be had about the Celtics, the Knicks, rust, and many more things about the Pacers as they head into their second straight conference finals. I need to say that as much as I can to beam into people how impressive it is. And I don't want to talk about this stuff alone. I want to talk about it with the world's greatest tour guide, especially if you're in the city of Cleveland / right outside Cleveland, city's name I forget, Ohio. Jon Washburn from the glory days of 8.9 seconds is here. Jon, hello, welcome. How are you? Are you so thrilled that the Pacers went into your city where you currently live and moved on?
Oh man, I'm so thrilled. All of my Cavs fan friends here are just, oh man, I am unbearable. I have been unbearable this entire last week. I mean, they talked so much smack leading up to this series, and I have not let them hear the end of it. It's been just a glorious last week and a half for me as the Pacers just ran up and down the court on them all series and just showed that we are the better basketball team. So yeah, it's been a wonderful, glorious last week and a half.
That makes it easier for you because they can't even use the injury card. Like, they just got blasted 4 times in 5 games. So yeah, right. I guess game 2 was not a blasting, but their style is just better for much of the series. Yes. They're moving on. And now the topic is there. They know when they're playing game 1 of the next series. They know they're on the road, but they don't know who they're playing. The Knicks, who have the plot armor of clutch games this year, only the Pacers probably have more than them in the last couple months of basketball. Many clutch wins, even in this playoffs for the Knicks. The Celtics have a lot of awesome, terrific players. Even without Jason Tatum, they have lots of awesome and terrific players. If they could hold a 20-point lead, they'd be done with this series already. The conference finals might have started 2 days earlier. Instead, the Knicks need 1 win. The Celtics need 2 to move on. I've set the scene too much. Who do you think the Pacers would rather play? The current Celtics, which I think it's very important to note that 1, Jason Tatum is out, and 2, very important from last year's playoffs, Kristaps Porzingis has been very bad in the playoffs this year, or the Knicks, who, like, record-wise, talent-wise, are worse, but are healthy and seem to win every clutch game they play.
Yeah, I've actually gone back and forth on this a little bit.
Me too.
I wanted to say that I thought the Knicks were a little bit better matchup just because of the Pacers' depth, their style of play, the way that, we can run up and down the floor, Tibbs ball. They're only playing 6, maybe 7 guys over the course of a long series. I think that the Pacers will wear them down. However, I think all of those things can still be true against the current state of the Celtics. And without Jason Tatum, with the current state of Kristaps Porzingis, the longer we get into the playoffs with an older and more diminished Al Horford, I think I would rather play the Celtics at this specific point in time because I'm just a little bit scared of Jalen Brunson in crunch time more than I'm scared of anybody on the Celtics. So it's very really reasonable. Close. I think both teams are really good. I don't think either team is going to be a walkover in the Eastern Conference Finals. And I honestly, for for the last week and a half, I've been excited to play potentially the Knicks, but I actually think at this moment in time, I think the Celtics would be a slightly better opponent for the Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals.
You're not afraid of the mighty Luke Cornett? Come on, that guy just won a playoff game. He was awesome.
I mean, he was excellent yesterday, but no, I'm not afraid of the mighty Luke Cornett. I think I'm a little bit more afraid of Jalen Brunson and the Nova Knicks and the power of friendship. I think they've got a little bit of what the Pacers have got, to be honest, right now. A lot of that chemistry and a lot of, a lot of that sort of thing. I do think the Pacers are a better team than both teams at this point in time.
I do too.
But I think I would slight edge towards wanting to play the Celtics, the current state of the Celtics, as opposed to playing the Knicks. What do you think?
Yeah, it's very close for me too. I have also, like you, one time or another been like, oh, probably them. Oh, just kidding, probably them. Right this second, I slightly think the Pacers' chances would be higher against New York. I honestly would tell anyone, like, just pick who you like, just pick one. It's not a huge difference. And I do think there'll be some fans who are like, bring on the team that beat the Pacers last year. Revenge on the Celtics would be cool. Like, I understand all these emotional parts of it. The same Knicks thing as last year is going to be true in that even a healthy Knicks team, they are very good. I say nothing about either of these teams to diminish the Celtics or Knicks. They're very good. They are still top heavy, right? They played game 5 last night for us talking 2 days ago for you listening, and they play their starters, and their starting 5 net rating in the playoffs is like not good in a lot of minutes, right? They're a lot better with either Mitch or Deuce McBride out there than Josh Hart of late. They're still, but those lineups with those guys in there are very good. Like the Knicks are not a fluke to be at this point, to be clear. Regardless, they have their starting 5 with really good players, as the Pacers saw last year, and then Mitchell Robinson, who's like pretty good but kind of limited, in terms of what his skill set is. I'm not bashing these guys when I say limited. He's very good. Deuce McBride, who's never missed a 3 after an offensive rebound ever in his life. Like, those 2 are good. And then it's Campaign and sometimes more guys than that. That's it. Last year, the Pacers' depth was huge in that series. They had 48 minutes of better play, even though the Knicks had like higher peak moments, if that makes sense. And then in game 7, the Pacers' depth and everybody on the team couldn't miss a shot. They won the game. I still think that formula is there. And you could say, the Celtics don't have a lot of depth, especially with Tatum. Like, I hear you. They just turned to Torrey Craig for rotation minutes in a playoff game. Torrey Craig's fine, but I think every Pacers bench player is probably a little better than him. I just think their top end talent is still awesome. Like, Jaylen Brown kicked the Pacers' butts last year. He's still really good. Even in the down playoffs, Drew Holiday had a 50-point snatcher soul defense game against the Pacers 2 years ago. He's not as good because he's older, but he's still amazing. Like, Derek White just won them a game by hitting 4 threes in the first quarter. I just kind of feel like even minus Tatum, the Celtics are a smidgen better to me, just a little tiny bit, and that makes them harder because stylistically they're both kind of depth limited and they both don't play as fast as the Pacers. So I think I lean Knicks for the Pacers just barely, but honestly I think that I'd pick the Pacers against both right now given the state of both teams.
Sure. Yeah, I think for me it's almost like which third guy am I getting, right? OG, and it's like OG versus Derek White, right? The OG that we've seen a little bit during this series is pretty scary, right? But Derek White that we saw yesterday in game 5 was also very scary. So
ironically, Derek White's best game came with OG's worst game.
right.
Not been the case for most of the series. Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I think I agree. I would take the Pacers over either team. But that doesn't actually make me feel great right now. I kind of like the Pacers with their back up against the wall a little bit. It's been fun watching all of the experts pick against the Pacers in each of the last 2 rounds, and I don't know how we're gonna respond.
That'd be stupid. Imagine picking the Cavs against the Pacers, man. That'd just be stupid. That'd be crazy. Imagine someone doing that. And they see this stuff. Like Myles posts the ESPN screenshot right after game 5. Rick even talked about the point spread, or maybe not the point spread. I forget exactly what term he was using, but that picked the Cavs every single game of the series. We were the underdogs. Like, I think they embraced that a little bit, and that might be the case if they played the Knicks just because the Knicks are healthy, but I don't know how that would actually work on a game-to-game basis in another series. I think that this discussion, I agree with you, kind of comes down to like how you view players 3 through 5 on those teams, because Jalen Jaylen Brown's amazing. Jaylen, whichever Jaylen you're playing against is amazing. Cat has had this wonderful playoff resurgence the last 2 years. He's very good there. Like, those players are all awesome, but like the Horford, White, Porzingis / whoever's playing trio versus the Anunoby, Hart, Bridges. Bridges has been playing very good in the playoffs trio. Like, what do you think is scarier for the Pacers? That kind of flavors, I think, how you decide. But I think it'd be similar series odds either way for the Pacers because those teams have shown this series they're very even. But I just think the Celtics have been better too. Like, they've had a 14+ point lead in every single game of the series. Like, it's amazing that they're losing, given that that's the case. Is Jason Tatum worth 14 points? Yeah, close to that, right? He's really good. So maybe that will swing it towards the Knicks. Like, they could still win. They're very close. Game 6 will be telling. I think this is coming out Friday. I think it's tonight. It might be tomorrow. We'll see. I can't wait. Everyone, short little break to talk about Prizepicks. Basketball season at its peak, and with the playoffs heating up, now's the time to put your sports knowledge to work with Prizepicks, the top platform for daily fantasy sports. Prizepicks makes it easy. You pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and you're in. Whether it's points, rebounds, or assists, you've got a chance to win up to 2,000 times your entry, like things like Jalen Brunson for more or less than 26 points, or Kristaps Porzingis, more or less than 6 rebounds. When he's playing, take 60 seconds or less to make your picks. When you hit, the payout comes fast, sometimes as little as 15 minutes. And they even have things like Taco Tuesday initiatives where you can get discounts for even more value. Download the Prizepicks app and use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 instantly after your first $5 lineup. Prizepicks, run your game. The other part of the debate about the next round is the classic but boring rest versus rust conversation. The Pacers, by winning game 2 and winning in 5 in the first round, will now not play for over a week heading into the next game. Ask the OKC Thunder how that felt in game 1 of their series against the Nuggets. The Nuggets played 2 days earlier, and like all discussion leading up to that series was like, oh, the Thunder are going to whomp the Nuggets in game 1. They had all this time off. The Nuggets are quick turnaround. They got to do this and that. And like, maybe it's not a quick turnaround if it's the Knicks winning in 6, but the Nuggets won that game, right? And I'm not saying that's an all the time thing. That's just what happened in that series. The Warriors quick turnaround beat the Wolves. So like, rest seems like the advantage to me almost always, especially for the Pacers, who used rest very well around the NBA Cup, who came out of the All-Star break pretty good in terms of their quality of wins. Like, rest seems good. Tyrese Haliburton has a thing on his wrist. Myles Turner turned his ankle. Like, 2 of their key players, and McConnell and Siakam are on the wrong side of 30. Like, great, rest is good. But the rust part of it is a thing. Do you have any strong takes on this? Does it actually matter? I do think the other advantage of this is like the opposing team can't start scouting the Pacers until way less time than the Pacers' advantage. It's just, where do you stand on this?
Yeah, I tried to look up some like data on this to see, what do the numbers say? And it's hard because, there are stats that show, like, for instance, teams with at least 3 days more rest than their opponent in the NBA playoffs have won almost 69% of those series, right? Okay. The problem is, in the majority of these cases, the team with the rest advantage is almost always the higher seed.
And they're just better because they whomped a team previous round. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's actually pretty rare to have what's going to happen in this series happen, where the team with the rest advantage is the team that was also the lower seed, right? The team that was the inferior team, the worst team during the regular season. That's happened a lot less often. For lower seeds with more rest, the win rate actually does increase from 26% to 35%. So that is a significant jump, right? That indicates that rest boosts underdog performance by about 8%. It does seem that the whole rust side of this is purely anecdotal, because as you'll remember, OKC came out and looked a little bit rusty. And then what happened in game 2? They absolutely
won by 30 million. Yeah. Same with the Wolves. Same with the Wolves.
Yeah, exactly. So the rest does seem to catch up. And while teams might look rusty in game 1, the rest angle does seem to play a factor in a long series. I think it's pretty clear, especially for a team that plays like the Pacers. I think the rest is going to be a massive deal.
Agreed.
I am hoping for a game 7 in the Knicks Celtics series, no matter what happens. I think that can only help the Pacers. And I do think it's possible that the Pacers might come out in game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals and look a little bit rusty. But I still think on balance, having a rest advantage is going to be an enormous advantage throughout the entire series, even if anecdotally they happen to look a little bit rusty in game 1.
I like that way of thinking, certainly. And you use the word underdog in there. I'm clarifying for people that rush to the comments. He means like seeding underdog, not like legitimate. We think that team's the underdog. And yes, I think that's all good points. And this year might be different. It's very interesting this year, the data suggesting that like the decreased value of home court advantage in modern times versus the past. It still exists, but it's less. So even that is a factor here too. But I think I tend to agree with you on that. And the underbaked part of this that I think people miss a lot, not that you do, but like in general with these discussions, is a rest advantage in the playoffs is also something I alluded to. The Pacers have 8 days now to be like, here's what the Celtics do, here's what the Knicks do. Let's talk about it. Let's look at it. Let's plan for it, blah, blah, blah. The Celtics and Knicks are not being like, well, let's think about the Pacers during this heated series we're currently playing and have not won yet. So they have more time to actually look at their opponents. Like, yes, in theory, for the Thunder against the Nuggets, they didn't know they were playing Denver till 2 days before, but like they had 6 previous days to toggle time between Denver and the Clippers. Same thing with the Wolves, and Steph got hurt. That one's a little worse of an example, but that I think is the biggest advantage, is you come in more prepped for strategy, matchups, all sorts of what could be thrown at you. And I think the Pacers do a good job of focusing more on themselves than their opponents, but you still have to obviously scout and have tendencies down and stuff like that. That is more interesting to me than rest versus rust. You found this topic interesting, and I'm very excited because you are way better at the history stuff than me. We heard it from Rick Carlisle. Said 8 games away. It feels wide open this year. Yes, look, the Cavs are out. They won 64 games. The Celtics lost their best player. The Thunder are still very good, but still, like, this is why people talk about, 1, make the playoffs, see what happens with injuries. The Pacers currently have got to be thrilled with how the bracket is broke. But 2, last year they ran into the champs, the Boston Celtics. In 2013 and 2014, they ran into the Heatles, right? In the 90s, they ran into MJ or the Knicks, ironically, or whoever. Lots of good teams in the conference finals. They did break through the one time. Regardless, where would you rank this as like the best chances the Pacers have had to reach the finals ever among their 10 conference finals appearances? Obviously, the 2001 the one that they won, but where would you rank this in terms of like big opportunities for the franchise?
Yeah, so I think the best team the Pacers ever had was in 2005, and the brawl ruined it.
Agreed.
I think the team in 2004 was almost equally as good, but I think the Pistons that year were just a little bit better. I don't think they were beating Michael Jordan in 1998. And I think 98 is the best team the Pacers have ever had, but the Bulls were amazing. Yeah. Yes. And we had a 7-point lead with 2.5 minutes left in game 7. So it's fair to say that we could have won, but it's the GOAT doing GOAT things. Yeah. And Jalen Rose should have gotten a few more looks, and I will die on that hill, but it is what it is. And he was the best player on that team. But all right. So he wasn't the best player on that team, but he should have gotten more looks on that team. And he proved to later on be an important player on a team that did make the finals. Okay, I'm getting distracted. The best chance the Pacers had to make it to the finals and actually win a finals came sandwiched between 98 and 2000 in 1999, the lockout shortened season. In the catastrophe that was Jess Kersey screwing over the Pacers to unfathomable proportions with the Larry Johnson 4-point play. For those that don't recall, this year was a catastrophe. Nobody in the NBA came into the NBA taking it seriously. The Knicks were an 8 seed this year, and the Pacers got to the Eastern Conference Finals where they played against the 8 seed Knicks, who had beaten the 1 seed Heat in the first round. And we somehow choked, as Van Gundy famously said on the Reggie Miller 30 for 30. They pulled a pacer on the Pacers with Larry Johnson's 4-point play. And we somehow lost to the Knicks in that series without Patrick Ewing. Patrick Ewing went down and got hurt in that series, and we lost to the Allen Houston and Latrell Sprewell and Larry Johnson Knicks in 1999. That is the year that the Pacers should have gotten to the Eastern Conference, to the NBA Finals, and probably could have won the NBA Finals against a very good San Antonio Spurs team that had a rookie Tim Duncan. That is the year that hurts. And honestly, it's a year that still gives me the chills because it's very possible that we could be playing a New York Knicks team in the Eastern Conference Finals this year that a lot of Pacers fans feel like, again, we are a little bit better than, that we could be favored against, and we could be in the same position. But I think this is our best chance to actually get to an NBA Finals since 1999. We weren't going to beat we had our best team was 2005. The brawl happened. I don't think we were ever beating LeBron and D Wade, even though we talked ourselves into the five in our defense and those things like that. 1999 was our best shot.
94, so the 2 years without MJ, they made the conference finals. Mm-hmm. They lost to the Magic and the Knicks. I think that Magic team was very good, even though that one went 7. But the Pacers were better against that year than they were the year before when they were the 5 seed, but got to the conference finals before losing to the Knicks. So I would say 95 is up there as an opportunity. Both of those years went 7. They lost both times. But I tend to agree that it's somewhere in that 98 to the year they obviously made the finals range, because I think those are the best teams they've ever had, even though the competition was the stiffest. So it's kind of like, what's the year where there was no amazing competition and they were really good? That would make 95 the year that I think was the biggest missed chance to make it when they played Orlando. If any Orlando Magic fan happens to be listening, I have no ill will towards Shaq and Penny. That team was very good. But that seems like the one that's like, they could have had that one because they weren't playing MJ. They weren't playing LeBron. The other years they made it to the finals or didn't make it to the conference finals at all. And the other 2 conference finals that you just brought up were against the Knicks. So yes, 99, I think, is probably the most recent best chance they've had that they didn't obviously make it, because that they did make it in 2000. And this year might end up being up there. We'll see how it ends up feeling when it actually happens. But as we sit here right now, like, that's a long time. That's 26 years of time.
It still hurts. I was on vacation in Florida at a condo watching that with my parents when Jess Kersey made that call, and I was a 12-year-old kid, and I had a long talk with my father about fairness and about life not being fair, and I'll still never forget the unfairness of that moment.
One more break here, guys. We can talk about game time. There's nothing like the NBA playoffs, the intensity, the buzzer beaters, the fans losing their minds. It's the kind of atmosphere you've got to experience live, and this year's matchups are already delivering. If you want in, Game Time makes it fast and easy to get seats, even for the biggest playoff games. Prices on the app actually drop closer to tip-off, and with killer last-minute deals, panoramic seat views, and no surprise fees, Game Time, a total game changer. I used to go see the New York Liberty play a few years ago, and it was amazing. Their zone deals can give you great deals in certain sections. You can see that seat view, and with the Game Time guarantee, you know you're getting the best deal. If you find a better price in the same row and section, they'll credit you 110% of the difference. The NFL schedule's out. Go check on those now. You can find great seats as low as $100. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. I think a lot of people would have thought they would think about us talking about more about 2004. Because that was probably their best win the title chance had they won that series. Would you agree with that? Like, the Lakers were awesome in 2000.
Yeah. 2004 is right up there.
The Pistons were so good, though. They won 2 in a row.
The Pistons were so good, and that was such a fascinating series. The back and forth coaching adjustments between Carlisle and Larry Brown were just unbelievable. Like, let's dust off Austin Crozier and throw him in randomly to stretch the floor against the Pistons bigs. And he didn't play at all. And now he's a huge option. And then the next game, the Pistons figuring that out. It was wild stuff. And Just a fantastic series of games in the 50s and 60s, and a horrible watch, but like crazy defense. And but the Pacers were better the next year. We were a better team. Our test was better the next year. We were ready to win it, and it's just a shame what happened. And it's tough to even think back on what happened, with all those tough memories.
You never know when you're going to make the conference finals and not be playing one of the best to ever do it, which has happened to the Pacers almost half of their trips to the conference finals. And they've only taken advantage of one of those. This is up there with their best chances. The Celtics last year were amazing. This year, 04, that we're talking about, the Pacers were the top seed. God, looking back at this, the top score for a whole game for either team was 85 points. The Pacers scored 80.5 last week. God.
Yes.
Gosh, those Pistons teams. This is up there, right? This is, I think, as we've kind of laid out, top 2, 3, 4 chance of actually making the finals that they've had ever. Not because of, they're really good. It's not because they're a 61-win team like they were in 2004, but because, they're probably close to that, right? Since January 1st, their win percentage is probably that of about a 60-win team. But also the competition does not feature like a GOAT candidate or, Or they're not playing a Pistons team that is still referred to this day as like, this is how you build a team that can win without a GOAT level player on your team. And now probably
one of the greatest defenses of all time. Right. Yes. Exactly.
People still talk about them. You know what's funny? The thought hit my head in Cleveland. Like, if the Pacers do somehow win the championship this year, I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself, but like, will they become that new team that everyone's like, well, you could just build that team with a ton of depth and a style instead, and it will replace the Pistons. We'll see. I'm getting too far ahead of myself. I gave John one more assignment for today, and that is to offer praise to one Pacers player who has not gotten enough from the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. And to be clear, I think everybody has gotten some to some extent, because they wouldn't be this far if they weren't playing very well as a team. Who was your choice?
Yeah, this was funny because I immediately went to 3 guys, and then I was like, no, I've actually heard a lot of people praising all 3 of those guys, right? So then the next guy I thought about was Ben Shepherd, because Ben Shepherd comes in for 6-7 minutes each half, and Carlisle just puts him on the other team's best perimeter scorer for that time, and says, go run around every single screen, be a pest. You're not going to get the ball a whole lot, but when you get it, I want you to shoot it. I want you to shoot it confidently. You're going to probably pick up 2, 3, 4 fouls, but be aggressive, be steady, play defense, and then you're going to come back out. You're going to play 13 minutes tonight, and that's what you're going to do. And I feel like Ben Shepherd has done that well. And then I looked at the numbers, and his numbers aren't very good. He has the worst defensive rating on the team. He has the worst offensive rating on the team. He has not shot that well from 3. And yet still, I think Ben Shepherd has done well in his role. And his 13 minutes a night are valuable for the Pacers. He's picking up guys full court. He's playing good defense. He's staying in front of guys as much as he possibly can. But more importantly, those are minutes that starters are getting rest, and those are minutes that are building up, are compiling workload on the other team's guys. And it's death by 1,000 cuts with this whole Pacers team. I was talking to one of my buddies during the last game. Donovan Mitchell missed 3 free throws at the end of game 5. Why did he miss 3 free throws at the end of game 5?
I have a sneaky theory, but I want your answer first.
Well, it's because 2 minutes prior to that, on a free throw, Andrew Nembhard from the backcourt acted like a crazy man and crashed the glass on a free throw. And Donovan Mitchell had to go crazy in boxing him out from the backcourt on a free throw that was made. Because Donovan Mitchell saw what happened when you don't box out Pacers guards in the backcourt on free throws in game 2, right? And it's 100 little plays like that over the course of the series that just drain the opponent's legs. And it's Ben Shepherd's 13 minutes a night that are responsible for doing that. right? And because he's fresh and can do that for 13 minutes a night, now Aaron Nesmith can be more fresh in his 35 minutes a night, and Andrew Nembhard can be more fresh in his minutes, and Ben Mathurin can be more fresh in his minutes. And like those minutes are super valuable. I haven't seen a whole lot of Ben Shepherd as a problem online, and I want to give Ben Shepherd some, he's not going to get roses, but I'm going to give him some carnations. I'll give him some small flowers. Ben Shepherd, I think, has been great in this postseason.
Like a half bouquet.
There we go. Yeah.
He makes just enough threes to play. Like the Ben Shepherd experience, one is all the stuff you just described. He tries really hard. That's great. He makes just enough of his threes the second straight playoffs to stay on the floor and not just kill you completely. 35% this year. My Donovan Mitchell theory is that in Rocket Mortgage, or excuse me, it's not Rocket Mortgage, in Rocket Arena, he shoots 100% on free throws when the crowd does not say anything before he shoots free throws, and misses 100% of his free throws when they chant MVP before he shoots free throws. It was insane. It was like a perfect 1-to-1 overlap during the whole series. It was nuts. He was very good. I totally agree with you that like stylistically, that's why Shepherd plays. I always talk about him as like a guy who doesn't mess up that much, right? He does actually have more turnovers per minute than he usually does so far in the playoffs. He has 4. Oh no, 4. But like that's actually like an outlier amount for him, 1 every 25 minutes. Last year in the playoffs it was about 1 for every 33 minutes that he played. Like that's what he's good at. And he fights through every screen and does all the stuff you said and makes it like hard for another team star, which is what they want him to do. He just gets off the ball and runs around and tries to guard. He didn't guard that well. I thought he'd guard a little better against the Cavs, but I agree that him not getting them totally killed still matters for, like, you could say his net rating on the court isn't very good, but it allows the net rating of the players who then play instead of him, who are better than him, to be better because they're fresh and can do all the things that they do and make a million shots. If the Pacers missed a shot the entire playoffs, I'm still trying to figure that out. My answer to this question was Ben Mathurin, who's gotten a lot of praise and deserved it. Just look, he was really good in game 3 and the second half of game 2, which they needed that to steal that win in game 2. That is impossible without the close of the third quarter and start of the fourth quarter that Ben Mathurin has. Who knows what he would have done in game 4 if he didn't get ejected in 80 seconds, but he has done a good job of. Everybody thought, here's why Ben Mathurin would be good, because he can slow it down, ISO score. That's what the playoffs are. The Pacers said, screw that. We don't want to play like that. You have to play like this to help us. And he has. I thought against the Bucks, his best impact on offense was cutting. They said, we can't put TJ McConnell and KPJ like we thought. Ben Mathurin, this is your job now. Great, that went fine. He defended that matchup very well. His on-ball defense has been totally adequate to good enough in the postseason so far. He has gotten up the threes on catch-and-shoot moments. The stuff that everybody wants him to be is just not going to happen on this team in the playoffs, especially if Nembhard and Nesmith continue to make every single shot that they take. That's fine, though. I think Mathurin doing the fit-in stuff has made him a good playoff performer. It wasn't like exactly how I thought this would look for him. I don't think it's how anybody thought it would look for him, but he has not gotten enough praise for tilting more of his game towards what the Pacers need him to be, I think, in this playoffs. And I still think, maybe you could say the 23-point game he had was it. I still think a Ben Mathurin game is going to come in this playoffs at some point.
Well said. Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I also think, the starters collectively, right? I feel like we've done a good job of praising Myles Turner, of praising Tyrese Haliburton, of praising Nesmith, of praising Nembhard. The starters collectively, we got to praise that group as a
really
whole,
good.
Right? Yeah. We used to talk so much about the 5 back in 11, 12, 13, 14, when, that was one of the best units in all of basketball. Dude, we got 5 guys on this team averaging 14 points a game. I think I saw Habistro say the other day that I don't think that's ever happened in the playoffs. Maybe not ever, or maybe not in the last 10 years. He had dropped some sort of stat. This team collectively is just impossible to guard. I can't remember who wrote the article I read recently about how the NBA has transferred from a strongest link era into a weakest link era. Right?
That was in that 5. Yes, that was very good.
Yeah, now for years and years and years, whoever your strongest link was, that's who was going to win the game. But now it's who's your weakest link, and there's not a weak link in the Pacers starting 5. And Mathurin, for a lot of people, and even for himself, might think I am deserving to be in this starting 5, but he's accepted this role as the number 1 guy off the bench, and he's excelled in it. He's started in his role, as so many people like to say. He's been great this postseason.
164 minutes with all 5 starters on the floor in the playoffs. Would you like to guess the net rating of the Pacers in those 164 minutes, John?
Oh, man. Plus 25.
Plus 18.63. That's pretty dang good.
It's very good.
That'll do it. But wait, what if I told you the guy that we both just praised, I guess, reserve wings, if it's Turner, Siakam, Nembhard, Haliburton, and any 5th player, they're still plus 18.5. There's our Mathurin and Shepherd tying it into the starting 5. And that is the end of today's Locked On Pacers. Maybe by tonight we will know who the Pacers' next round opponent will be. Maybe not. And then I'll have to come up with more interesting playoff topics to talk about until the series actually starts. So I can't tell you what's coming on Locked On Pacers tomorrow. I can tell you to keep up with Jon Washburn and the many things he does around the world in the land of Pacers and mortgages. John, where can people find you and the things that you do?
At Dina Mortgages on Twitter, or X, as they call it these days. Thank you very much.
The Dean of anything is great branding. Dean of Pacers was right there for somebody. No one's taken it yet somehow.
Oh, man.
How is no one taking it yet?
We'll hop on that.
We'll see where this goes. Love playoff hoops. Hate that we're getting to the time of year where it's just one different series every other day. I liked all the playoff games happening. But alas, thank you all so much for listening. See you very soon.